This is Hannibal. M. Piper here from the HannibalTV.com. We're both in green today. Just getting back from the gym, and she's tired. She was doing some TV appearances all day, so she's ready to get some rest. WWE Raw, as Vince Russo said in a recent podcast that aired on this channel, it has just been, I haven't seen it, but according to those that watch that I know have said it's just been a brutal show. And I guess Triple H might be overseeing the booking of that. I don't know, but they did a 0.37 rating for yesterday's show, an average 1,472,000 viewers, which was their lowest numbers, I guess, since July 2021. So lowest numbers in almost a year and a half. And surprise, surprise, Kevin Owens was on the show. He always seems to be on the show during these record lows. And people could call me crazy all they want, but he's a big part of why people tune out. Apparently, Wall Street Journal did a report on Vince McMahon today where they mentioned, according to sources, he has interest in coming back to WWE, even though he's still the majority owner of the company. So he might not be making all the decisions, but he's still the owner. But apparently, after this Wall Street Journal thing ran, the stock went from 76.01 to 73.73. Now, wasn't it just this past summer where Vince stepped down as chief executive officer? We're only in December now, and there's already talk of him coming back. But I've heard many people, including Gerald Briscoe, say he's as busy as ever. So if you're the majority owner of a company like WWE, you'd probably be a pretty busy guy, whether you're officially doing roles or not. Someone that owns a company probably has some roles within the company. Arn Anderson said his AEW contract is not up for another year and a half. I did watch some of this slap fighting stuff on Logan Paul's channel. He covered some, I guess, at the Arnold Classic this year. And it popped up as a recommended video in my feed, and the girls that were doing it were attractive, which is why I did it. Well, I watched it, but I don't understand. I mean, were they doing it in this case just to get on Logan Paul's channel? Because what possesses somebody to take open hand slaps to the face? I highly doubt there's huge money involved in it, and you're getting brain damage from taking hits to the head. I just don't understand people that want to do that. Is Owens popular with Canadians? I believe the people of Quebec, some of them like him. But he's nowhere near the levels that the Rougeau family were at. Not even close. Not even 5% of what the Rougeaus were in their peak. Al, good evening to you as well. Everything's been good. I had a good workout today. Good day overall. Piper and I were recording some TV stuff earlier for about 5 or 6 hours. There's Piper herself in her scarf, checking out the scene. Have I watched the rise and fall of WCW? Yeah, I did buy the DVD when it came out. And from what I recall, I liked it. I'm a huge WCW fan, for anyone that doesn't know that. Al, yeah, I think Vince is the owner, so I don't think he's really gone. You can't own a company and not be gone. He's still the majority owner. Tom, would I interview the slap fighter girls? Yeah, I would. Maybe I should look them up, actually, now that you mention it. But I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, it just seems like one of the most harsh. I guess people do really stupid stuff on YouTube to get popular, but to just take slaps to the face without being able to protect yourself. I understand here or there in wrestling. I've allowed myself to get slapped in the face in wrestling, but it's only here or there. It's not like I'm taking slaps without being able to protect myself full force from someone. It just seems dumb. Why won't Typhoon do an interview? He'd rather do interviews with lesser known podcasts that get little to no hits. I don't know. I honestly don't know. He did actually agree to an interview with me at one point that was supposed to happen in Tampa. At the same time, I ended up doing the Brian Knobs interview, and who else did I do that time? I think I may have done Dan Spivey. Anyways, it was around that time I was also supposed to do Typhoon for an interview, but he got sick. And then he never answered me again since. So I don't chase guys down. I don't really care. I don't think I would like to interview him, no doubt. There's a lot of questions I'd like to ask him. But again, if he doesn't answer me, what do you want me to do? Eddie Mansfield, the few contacts I've had with him, seems like a total piece of crap. And he wanted like an absolutely ridiculous amount for an interview. So he's somebody I really have. The only way I would interview him is if I was ever hired by a company to do interviews for a documentary or something, and they paid me to interview people. But I don't interview assholes or people that have been rude to me unless I'm going to be paid for it, because I'm giving them publicity, and in some cases, if it's a good trade-off, they get a fee for it. So why would I give them publicity or money if they're going to be rude to me? I have never seen Young Rock, I'm sorry to say, but I've had the guy that plays Iron Sheik on it numerous times. First of all, I don't have cable. Second of all, just didn't seem interesting to me. But I don't have anything against it. I don't watch any TV. I have a very short attention span. Vince Russo was spot on when he discussed Triple H's booking of Raw. I agree. Yes, Eddie Mansfield sold out the business to get a little bit of publicity for the 2020 thing. The movie, right now, I have other projects that have taken precedent over the movie. Perhaps later in 2023, I'll get back to that. But I have other. There's been some scenes shot for it. There's a script done for it, but there might be the final movie might be a little bit different than the original concept for the movie. But to be honest, right now I just want to do interviews, and I already sunk a ton of money into the movie, and I've had other expenses come up. I don't want to like wastefully spend money on anything right now. I only want to spend money on things where I can 100% make my money back. And the movie was more of a passion project, but it will be done eventually. Linda McMahon, a lot behind the scenes going on. I'll be honest, I don't really care anything about Vince McMahon's personal life. I truly don't care about it. Be perfectly honest. Tom Barry Windham's out of ICU. And on that note, make sure you follow us on Facebook as well at the Hannibal TV. Larry Sabisco, I think, is doing an interview on the Old School Shooters podcast tomorrow night at either 7 or 8 on this channel. Avi Loeb, the Harvard astronomy professor, is going to be doing an extraterrestrial related interview with me Thursday at 6 p.m. I'm really looking forward to that. Mario Mancini is going to be back talking to me on Saturday at noon. So I'm looking forward to do that. People pay get paid for interview appearances everywhere. For instance, like the people that pay in documentaries most of the time do interviews, and Ariel Helvani is getting heat right now because he's complained about Dana White not paying fighters enough, but he doesn't pay his people for interviews, and he's got a ton of sponsors and makes a lot of money for his interviews. So, of course, a lot of people ask way too much, and some people ask more than their interviews ever make back. I don't know anything about what Barry Windham owes Spang. I have no idea. I believe I've heard that too, that he was a hunter and had properties too. I know that Bray Wyatt, his nephew, makes a shitload of money. Jonathan, do I think CM Punk goes back to WWE? He's probably happy sitting at home making $3 million a year to do nothing right now in AEW. But if they release him, they'll have to pay him out something agreeable. And then if WWE makes him an offer, I believe he's still injured. He has been very injury prone. There's no doubt he probably couldn't work a full WWE schedule, because hasn't he already been injured 2 or 3 times, and he's only had like 5 to 10 matches since he's been back. The Bobby Lashley firing is a storyline, Capo, and he's already hired back. They hired him back before they said he was hired back like the next morning. Just again, Triple H's genius booking, which gives me no desire. Honestly, I didn't even watch the highlights from Raw. I didn't even have the desire to watch the 3-minute highlights of Raw. I'll be perfectly honest with you. That's how interested I am in Raw these days. I've never seen the Grimm YouTube stuff. I've heard. I may have glanced through a few clips several years ago when someone first told me about it, where it's backyard wrestling type stuff. I guess he's been successful at it, but it's not my cup of tea. But if he's making a lot of money off of it, good for him. I don't know, Matt Bourne's son, Earthquake's daughter. Hook me up, Grandma Daisy. Crying's not a CM Punk fan. And there you go. No Gimmicks guy promoting it too. And I also have a good shoot interview with Larry Zbysko on here. John, who under 35 is 6 feet or taller, 250 pounds or more in wrestling? I have no idea. I don't know how old that guy in AEW is. That was once MJF's bodyguard or something, which I don't even remember his name. But he might be 35 by now, because I seem to recall he was in his early 30s when he was signed. Al, CM Punk merchandise is still being sold on his website, so there you go. He's still getting merchandise money too. Do they need stars? Are they going to just keep paying him to sit at home? Or are they going to pay him out and just write it off? Chris Jericho has seemed to indicate that they don't want him in the locker room, from the interview I saw with him on Howie Mandel. And Chris Jericho is more of a valuable asset than CM Punk, but maybe things can be resolved. I really don't know. I was talking to some people on the inside of the business today that basically says Tony Khan's dad is like a 14 billionaire and doesn't really give a damn what his son spends the money on. All these contracts are just pennies to a guy like that. All Elite is the new WCW. Although this guy it's his dad that's helping fund it, who's the billionaire. So there's a closer connection than Billionaire Ted, Ted Turner ended up losing power towards the end, which is why WCW went out of business. Charles, hello from Mobile, Alabama. I don't even think I know I've been close to Alabama before, but I don't think I've ever actually been in it, from what I recall. But I've seen the turnoffs. I think when I was in Tennessee. Jay Miller, Earthquake's daughter would be awesome. I didn't even know we had a daughter. The unionized wrestler talk has gone down. I think the unionizing wrestlers would be bad for, like, there's already so much shitty talent in the wrestling industry that aren't over. Unionizing them would make it even harder to fire them. So it'd be bad for the viewers, but at the same time, WWE wants to keep calling their wrestlers performers, and they just perform scripts and they're on a television show. They're told what to say. Their contracts are this thick. So in reality, they're actors performing on a television show. So I think because WWE is making so much money, and but they don't want to actually allow them to join the actors union. It makes no sense. So I think because they keep saying their wrestlers are performers and they want to break kayfabe so bad and say it's all a show, they should have to unionize. You can't have it both ways. Say it's a show, have it be a TV show, admit everything's scripted, but no actors union. That makes no sense to me. I don't understand it. John, there's less and less heavyweights in wrestling, which is another thing that turns a guy like me off as a heavyweight. And one of the appeals to wrestling used to be there was kayfabe, but you thought these guys were the toughest in the world and you wanted to pay to see them. But now, first of all, it's easy to, and they have mystique about them. There's the mystique factor's gone, and very few have the larger than life factor. So a lot of people have tuned out. Charles, yes, I do believe that they should be able to join the Screen Actors Guild at this point, because Raw, they call it a fucking television show. And it's scripted. These guys would get in trouble if they go off script. Unless you're Steve Austin or a massive name, if you don't follow the script, you're going to be fired. So how is that not acting? And they have to adhere to drug tests and all this crap. I don't know. It seems to me that they're not independent contractors, just by my glance at it, and they're actually acting. They're actually athletic actors. But as I said, I don't think it'd be good for wrestling to have them unionized, for the reason why you'd have to keep shittier wrestlers signed. But at the same point, wrestling is crap now anyways, for a guy like me. And it annoys me that they want to break kayfabe and turn so many people off of wrestling. So if they want to break kayfabe so much, those people should be able to join the actors union. And I think if there was ever a case over it where a judge had to preside and decide if wrestlers are actors, I think it'd be very clear that wrestlers are actors. I agree with you, Mr. Padre. I agree. The behind the scenes, as I was talking to someone today that knows a lot about the inside of the business, it's like the behind the scenes is the only interesting part left of wrestling. I don't know how people can stand to watch WWE. I would seriously rather watch it. I'm saying this with all sincerity, and I'm not a Real Housewives fan. But I've gone out with various girls from time to time that like watching Real Housewives, and I would rather watch a Real Housewives show than WWE or AEW. That's how much I'm turned off of wrestling as a guy that used to be obsessed with it. The old stuff I'll still watch. As I said, I was watching Ric Flair promos last week and enjoying them. Brett, it will have its good moments, but I don't think it'll ever be back to what it was. Capo, the last thing I heard about Buff is an interview where he was saying he was doing DDP's program like 4 times a week, but then on the 3 days off, he was going back to his old ways, and he was hoping to break that cycle. But I don't know what's happened since then. I saw that about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I don't really follow him. Jay, well, wrestling still makes money and revenue, but I'd be shocked since they keep catering rather than try. I actually WWE, by hiring guys like Logan and Jake Paul and stuff, they are trying to bring in new fans. But overall, the product is just so uninteresting. Like, as I said, I watched the thing with Kurt Angle, the SmackDown thing on Friday, where he's eating the cake and the two wrestlers come in the ring and they kick him out and they start eating his cake, and these are grown men, and then Kurt Angle comes back in a milk truck and they're throwing milk, and these guys just stay in the ring getting hit with the milk, acting like it's the end of the world. Then when they bring out the hose, oh boy, what are we going to do? We're not just going to run out of the ring into the audience to avoid getting hosed with milk. We're just going to stand around and be like, oh God, he's going to spray us with milk. And then they get sprayed with milk and act like it's the end of the world. And then the segment ends with Kurt Angle and the Olympic guy, who I don't even remember his name, the guy that just won the Olympics. They're pouring milk on themselves. So it's like the milk is kryptonite to the heels, but to the baby faces, it doesn't matter if you're covered in milk. So to me, that's just, it's so silly. I watched it because Kurt Angle, I wanted to see what they did. But it's like, this is the best shit you can come up with. Seriously? Crying is going to have to get paid $1,000. I would do it for $500 US. I don't know on a regular basis, but any word on Billy Jack? He checks in with me every week or two, and he's doing all right. I don't even know if Butt Bagwell ever had a channel. I know one of the channels he was bashing me on got deleted. John, they can't make stars anymore, so they bring in stars. That is true. The last star that they've made is Roman Reigns, and he never reached the level of Cena. The Hulk Hogan era, I have to say, was my favorite era in WWE as well. Mr. Showbiz guy is amazed anyone attends Raw or SmackDown. The last wrestling event I attended, I was working security at, and it was about 8 or 9 years ago. It was a SmackDown here in Ottawa where John Moxley was dressed as the Mountie. And I remember that I think AJ Styles wrestled that weird looking guy on the show that I don't even fucking remember his name. He was terrible. That jobber guy that ended up getting a contract and had all this bad stuff come out about him. He looked like shit. I forget his name, but I just remember thinking to myself, really? And I remember at one point I was facing away from the ring, watching over the crowd, and one of the fans is like, "Oh, this must be torture for you. You can't watch wrestling. Watch the show that's going on." I'm like, I don't want to watch this. I'm quite happy looking at the crowd and like letting my imagination go off. No, it wasn't Lars. I don't know if Lars ever wrestled AJ. What the hell was his name? His face was all fucked up. I'm gonna look it up. I've interviewed him briefly. Sorry. I'm going to look it up here. James Ellsworth. James Ellsworth. And I remember when he got the contract, everyone in the audience was like yelling, "You deserve it, you deserve it." I'm like, how does this guy deserve a contract? He doesn't even work out. What the hell does he deserve a contract for? He's never been famous anywhere. He's never been anything but a low-level independent guy. So yeah, that was the last one I attended, and it was as a paid security guard. Since then, I didn't want to attend anymore, because by that time I'd actually got a YouTube channel going, and fans were talking to me and stuff. And I'm like, this is just depressing. Spang, yeah, he knew it was Ellsworth. Yeah, very forgettable guy. And yeah, he didn't last long. And I remember they were going to use him in SWE Fury when I was with the company. And it was sure as hell wasn't my idea. For whatever reason, they wanted to bring him in, and they got so much heat for whatever he was accused of in the Me Too stuff that they actually had to take him off the show. So their little gimmick with Ellsworth was a total failure. Do I think the USA Network has any influence on WWE for preventing them from doing anything good? I have no idea. No idea at all, but I'm going to call it a night because we've been rambling, but it's always nice chatting with you guys. Have a wonderful evening. Appreciate all your support.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of